So Surabhi has been a student of Semester School of Economics and Ferguson, and so she's been my senior throughout, 1 year senior right from grad, and she is also currently pursuing her PhD at the institute. And her topic is economics of water management, recycling, and reuse in Maharashtra. So that sort of also gives us a headway into the entire sustainable zone that we're going to be going into today. Uh, Along with that, along with pursuing her PhD, she is also a co-founder of Rustic Art, which is a manufacturer of sustainable products, sustainable personal hygiene products, as well as certain FMCG goods, right? Your house care, household items, and which she runs along with her mother as well, right? So that today, our plan for today is to talk about her company, how they went about setting it up, why this particular area, why these products, what makes it so important in today's day and age. And also, let's try to bust a few myths regarding the economics of sustainable products. What's the pricing all about? What are the margins like? Why is it so difficult for existing manufacturers to actually, implement these products? About the scalability of these commodities, and and whatever else we end up covering. Okay, all right. So, hi Surbi, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
and so the first thing that I wanted to talk about is so there's a lot of talk regarding your sustainable development, sustainable economics, how each and every country has their own goals regarding waste management, air pollution reduction, right? And all of this boils down to the manufacturing sector. That and a lot of consumers also end up saying that there's only this much we can do on our own. But what about the larger polluters, right? What about the bigger polluters, which typically are the are from the end of the manufacturers itself, right? And so therefore sustainable manufacturing is then something that a lot of countries are now trying to shift the lens and shift the focus towards. That is one end of it. And what's your take on that? And while explaining this, it would be great if you would tell us how you came about with the whole idea of a rustic art, and what's involved in the planning, the manufacturing, why sustainable products.
Okay. All right. So let's start with how Rustic Art came about, and then we'll move on to how manufacturing can be sustainable. So Rustic Art was born when actually my mom studied her master's in sustainable development. She realized how all of these personal use products or home hygiene products are laden with toxic chemicals which are causing environmental as well as health hazards. It's not just polluting the environment, but it's also affecting our own health. Even simple stuff like phenyl that we use or acids that we use can cause a lot of harm to us as well as to say pets in our house or animals around us. So that's how Rustic Art was born, when she couldn't find anything, and then she thought, okay, let's just see if we can do something around it. So back in 2010, when we started, 2010 was the ideation planning stage, I would say. So we found a manufacturer in Pondicherry, Auroville, and that's how it started. So we found the right manufacturer, we found the right product, we somehow tried and tested the market. So now imagine in 2011 somebody going out in the market and selling a soap for over 100 rupees and saying, okay, this is organic, you should buy it. Why would somebody buy it? Like, even we didn't know what organic meant or why is it at all important. So it started there. So we started creating awareness about why it is important to choose something which is toxin free, something which is safe. Another thing that was also a part of, I would say, the thought process, that most of the times I don't know how much others have, but we, while growing up, always had these DIYs we would do, right? Face packs and hair masks and everything. And with lifestyle and how when we moved out of home, or when we started having more faster lifestyle, I would say, it started just falling apart. So we thought, how can we bring about a better user experience with same quality of ingredients, same quality of benefit that we can derive out of these DIYs from Dadi Nani ke nuske. to a more modernized approach towards it. So this is how I would say rustic art has born and evolved. We'll talk about more in depth about it as we go ahead. Now coming to manufacturing. So we started manufacturing in 2000, late 2018. So we started all the procedures, construction, everything else a few years before that. And by the end of 2018, we were ready with it. So while taking care of this manufacturing unit, we figured out how we can be sustainable in very simple and very, I would say, uh, rule following way. Like already the policy, already the rules are in place, and how just simply following them can make your manufacturing more sustainable. Even availing those subsidies, if you want to avail all of the subsidies that government is giving to actually protect environment, to actually make your manufacturing more sustainable, you can end up having a manufacturing unit which is run quite sustainably. So what we started with was very simple and very basic thing, that is solar power. Install a solar panel, try and use as much electricity through solar energy that we can. That is one. Second is to source as much raw material as we can locally. Like most of the resources that we use, we source it locally. So that is where your SEZs come in, right? You bundle up allied industry so that you are reducing the carbon footprint of transportation of raw material from here and there. So that is another aspect that we try and control. Then of course wastewater recycling. I can like it will be a whole another session if we start talking about it. So if we recycle the wastewater within our facility itself, it can also help save water, also help reduce the consumption, and also help save the environment and cost to the government and river pollution and so on and so forth. So these are few basic things. Now, what we can do at technology end or at innovation end, one, we can have better processes which do not consume more electricity or more energy. They are optimized, they are they run smoothly, they are more water efficient processes, or use water saving technology. Now, a lot of our industries are quite water heavy, wherein they require a lot of processed water, and industries have water for really dirt cheap prices. So they don't really care for the conservation of it. But if, of course, this comes from a policy point of view, but if you are an aware manufacturer, I would say, then in that case, you can have a process which is more water efficient and water saving that can help optimize the sustainability aspect of the entire process. And all of this has nothing to do with the end product. We are not even getting to what end product is. It is just about the entire design of manufacturing facility. So yeah, I think that should answer your question.
Yeah. Um, right. So, but so like you're saying that it's as simple as probably complying to the laid down regulations that the government has already put in place, but so there's this entire argument that people have that usually it's cheaper to buy a product that has a worse off impact on the environment, right? That's usually where it comes down to, because even if I just do a simple Google search for sustainable soaps, probably the more eco-friendly or the more natural ones that are let's say chemical free, or that maybe do not invest so much in having cleaner manufacturing processes, would be the cheaper ones. And so when it comes down to a consumer's, preference at the end of the day, do I, as a consumer, think about the bigger picture, and am I willing to spend 20 rupees extra, 50 rupees extra at times? Or would I just buy the product for 15 rupees and finish it off and, don't bother about the larger picture? So if you can, tell us a little bit about the costing involved in, maybe following these practices, and in the long run, do the costs average out?
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, of course, people think of organic natural products as more premium priced than the regular product. And more often, people don't really trust the quality of it. People would think, okay, why is it so cheap? It might not use proper quality ingredients. But that's not necessarily true. Like there are a lot of factors that come in. There's entire marketing and distribution chain that is involved with it, which each and every product. If you see most of these products, like, I don't want to name any brand, but if you like go online on say Nika or on Amazon, you'll see most of these products will always have some discounts running, right? Like 20 days out of 30, you'll have those some big discounts, like not even like 5%, 10%, it'll be 30% to 60%. And
Yeah.
that is where the entire marketing aspect comes in. So it has nothing to do with product, I feel. It is more to do with the marketing and the positioning of it. That is one. Second, of course, the cost would definitely be higher than any product which is cheaper in the market, say, which is maybe laden with more easily available ingredients. So as and how the demand increases, as and how the awareness increases about the toxicity of, say, for example, SLS and sulfates, right? Now, people are much more averse about it than they were 10 years ago. So it's about time that has to go, more awareness that has to come, more education that has to come in with consumers as well. So more people who are getting into this market will create more awareness. And of course, these days, influencer marketing is definitely doing their bit into bringing more awareness about how to read ingredients, what should be used, what should not be used, and so on. So in that case, yes, there has been a shift. Now, coming to the pricing and the cost aspect, it may not necessarily be very expensive. Say, for example, if we talk about a particular product in within Rustic Art product range, say, for example, detergent. So I remember we were only having this conversation that how much do you spend on detergent in a month, while comparing the similar product in my range as compared to any commercial product. And we ended up figuring out that actually it's much cheaper, or if not cheap, at par at what we are currently spending on a particular, say, mid-range detergent product, if not same, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so how do these differences come in? So most commercial products are either filled with fillers, really, so just to bulk it up, right? So you need more product per use. While what we are trying to do here is to reduce the entire fillers. So once you reduce fillers, you're reducing the carbon footprint as well, right? So you're not using unnecessary material. You are only transporting or giving out material into the market which is actually needed. And in long run, of course, you're saving the environment, it's better for health and so on. All of those chain reaction benefits come along with it. So this is one way we can figure out that how it's not necessarily a premium priced product, but at par with most commercial products that there are. And of course, there will be a class of society which will not afford this, and which is okay. But you don't really have to convert each and every person to make a difference into environmental health, I would say.
Right. No, so you mentioned, that off late, or you have your, the influencers, or you have the newer generation that is far more, aware or conscious about these decisions. So I had come across this Capgemini report, which they published in it's a post-COVID era report that talks about how sustainability is fundamentally changing consumer preferences. That was the title of the report. And basically what they found was that it revealed that many consumers were following sustainability-led practices in their daily life, and close to 60% of them, were of the opinion that they would opt for something that would be slightly more expensive if they could, minimize the household waste that was being generated. Yeah. So have you also come across a similar trend? I mean, is it now that so in maybe terms of the quantum that is being sold, or any other market reviews or surveys that you have done, that is local sourcing and looking at the environment with a friendlier lens something that has changed post 2020?
Yeah, there is a trend. We see that change. There is like within the conversations as well, right? The questions that people were asking before were much different than the questions they're asking today about product or about the processes. They want to know how the product is made, where we are getting the products from, how they can recycle things, how they can reduce the wastage. So yes, the conversation has definitely changed. And I think the lockdown period wherein the environment started healing, those stories had made a greater impact on most of the people, right? Because it made me like think that just 3 months of closure of industry could actually help make Ganga cleaner. And that's a very big deal, right? It did not take a very long time for the environment to go from bad to good as well. But it took much lesser time for it to go bad again. So I think everyone started believing, yes, their own contribution counts. They want to choose something which is healthier. They want to choose something which is more friendlier towards biodiversity and environment around them. And yeah, they have come to realize, yes, their choices today make a difference for future generations, which I think was lost for a very long time. People forgot that sustainability is about future generation and not just about today. So that difference has come across. And what parameters, like you said, you want to know the parameters. Yes, sales is definitely one parameter, but sales can also be attributed to marketing and rise of e-commerce. But the sort of questions that people ask and the sort of reviews that people give us or feedback that people give us, that has definitely made us think that yes, this is the sort of change that is coming across into the world these days.
Right. So you mentioned Amazon and Nika, etc. So we had a talk earlier with I think so. Yeah. So Milind was with us, and so for those of you who have attended this call before, Milind and Surabhi were batchmates. So both
Yeah.
of them are are my seniors from one batch senior to me. So he was talking to us about the logistics involved and you know basically how he was working with a logistic company and what it is to be from B2B, B2C, etc. So as a retailer, how has your experience with Amazon been? Because as consumers, we I think people are pretty delighted with all these return policies. Yeah, during lockdown, I know people have used Amazon like a shop, literally, like order it home, try it, nahi hota, wapas bhej do, that sort of a thing. So if you could give us, like a retailer perspective of how it is, dealing with Amazon or any of the other B2C companies that you must have used or interacted with.
So I have been lucky in that sense because we have a very low return rate, and because it's a consumable product, we do not accept returns through any policy, be it Amazon or anything. So it is very different for fashion as fashion or other consumer durables, and it is very different for personal hygiene. Um, but from what I believe, that people are more considerate towards small businesses. They know that there is a person working behind that. It's not a giant corporate. They know that people have put in each and every product is made with some hard work, this, and they're more considerate about these things. So returns has not been a very big hassle with regards to, in my category at least. But yes, there is some drawback to use in return wala aspect, and then I'm talking in terms of sustainability. Like whenever we transport logistics, it is basically a very it's a cost to environment, right? So whenever we are shipping one product from one place to other, it involves use of fuel, it involves use of space. You're transporting not just a end product, but the resources that are used in it. So all of this comes under environmental economics. Whenever you guys would study it, you will definitely relate to it more. But so when, say for example, carbon footprint or water footprint, like when we talk about these things, you are basically transporting a water which is sourced at one particular end to, say, if you're shipping something to from Mumbai to Delhi, so you're transporting even those ml of water from Mumbai to Delhi, which is not really necessary. So yeah, logistics, I believe that if somebody wants to buy something online, if you really want to be sustainable, buy those things online which you know for sure it is not definitely available around you. And of course, it has given us an ease. And if it is much easier for us to buy online, prefer buying in bulk. So if you can find one place wherein you can find, like, say, most of your necessities or most of your needs in one place, and you can purchase it in bulk, then nothing like it. It is the better of two evils, I would say. Like, the opportunity cost here is much lower than the other aspect of it, like where you're buying one single product, and so you think of something today and you bought it today, while you think of something tomorrow from the same particular market and you bought it tomorrow. So you're essentially increasing the economic cost as well as the environmental cost of the product and your consumption as well. So to optimize this, I think mindful consumption from customers' end, and of course, education aspect comes in from brands' end as well. So the idea behind Rustic Art was to bring most of the things that you can use, that you require in your daily needs under one umbrella and maintain the quality across. So you don't really have to look here and there. I'll give an example of home care. I have a lot of customers, loyal customer base, who have been with us for 8 years, even 10 years for that matter. And they would buy their entire month's supply of, say, dishwash, laundry, whatever there is. And they would come to us and tell us, okay, this is what you're lacking in your product range. And if you could make this with the similar quality and similar aspect, we would love to buy this from you so that everything comes together in one place and we don't have to look for it in different places. And
Right.
it is basically transported at the same time. So we can reduce the entire environmental cost of logistics. Secondly, like I said, we are trying to reduce the use of fillers. So we are also trying to reduce the use of water within the products. So you can reduce water footprint. So any particular, pick up any product in your bathroom, say shampoo or hand wash or face wash or anything. One of the ingredients will always be water. But you always have water at home. So we are trying to make it into a concentrate which can be either diluted at home with your own tap water, or which can be used as it is without any water requirement. So entire water content of any product which is not required as a part of formulation or efficiency of use is completely removed from the product. Now, what happens in this case is you're reducing water footprint. And I actually came across a study by Ellen MacArthur Foundation wherein they studied that transporting concentrates, that is waterless products, reduces emissions by up to 90%, which is a very big number, I
Yeah.
felt. And if, say, even 30% of the population chooses to do so, it reduces emissions by a very big chunk. So yeah, that is where
Yeah.
the entire sustainability aspect comes in when it comes to logistics.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, if you spoke of concentrates, and since you said, like you have your soaps or your shampoos, etc. So if you just think about our own houses, you'll realize that almost all of these come in plastic containers as well.
Hmm.
So regularly, the shampoo you use, the conditioner you use, or the soaps you use will have some sort of a plastic packaging. It could be a bottle, it could be like it could have like a pump out mechanism or whatever. And so one, if one aspect of that size of a plastic bottle is also because it just has water in it, then you just think about the amount of
Packaging material as well.
packaging material as well. Yeah.
Glass, because if you're using glass, say for a shampoo, suppose it's slippery, right? Shampoo is going
Yeah.
to be slippery when you use it. You drop it into bathroom, it is health hazard first.
Yeah.
Second, once it is broken, you cannot recycle it. You cannot do anything
Absolutely.
about it. And
Absolutely.
for transporting glass, you will need additional bubble wrap or some sort of anything. You will need more virgin resources than you would require to transport plastic. So durability of it is highly questionable. And
Yeah.
that one thing, actually, plastic ban has created a very different conversation altogether. And I think there will be a very big change coming in very soon because we cannot. The idea is to make our recycling facilities and recycling habits better rather than switching to something like glass. Now, glass is made by sand, and sand is a natural resource. You cannot really keep consuming sand in one place
Yeah.
and see that it is sustainable. So
Yeah.
it essentially like counter reacts with the entire idea of it. The only
Correct.
more sustainable way would be to have like a milkman model or a kirana store model, wherein you go refill your stuff and come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a very retail heavy and a very investment heavy aspect of all of this.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
that's the idea behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, because then that brings me to the scalable aspect of, so let's say for you it's a smaller company, it's a smaller clientele, but when you talk about your FMCG kings of the market, so to say, you have your Unilever, so it's not possible for them to cater to a global audience. And that's where they start raising these questions, right? That okay, you could have all of these policies, but how do we cater to
Yeah.
everyone that we need to cater to? So I guess it does come down to government policies at the end of the day, that um, so I read this good line somewhere where, that the new sustainable, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, whatever you want to call it, needs to be more about, so you insert the environmental cost into the cost of the product, and it's no longer about cheaper availability of the products. It's more about accountability of what you're purchasing, and that would maybe lead to a shift in
Yeah.
um,
Like you said, mindful consumption. Like it's simple demand supply. If people demand a better, more sustainable product, there will be supply of it. When people started questioning Johnson and Johnson and Unilever that their products contain these toxic chemicals or sulfates, which is causing harm. That is when they started making that change, right? Even bigger giants like Johnson and Johnson had to do this, and there are open cases about it. Even simple things like microbeads. You remember those face washes with colorful beads? So they were nothing but plastic beads. And I think it was the fastest change ever. The quicker they came into the market, quicker they exited. Because there was a bunch of activists, I think in France or Germany, I don't remember, some European country, wherein they made sure that this thing goes out into the market. But still, whatever impact that created in those few years, it's still there in environment. So I think it lies at both ends. You want to give consumers something new and innovative. So you're not thinking about how it is going to harm environment. You're thinking about just to make it more colorful, bright and catchy, and instead of trying to think about that, how is it going to be, say, 10 years down the line? Is it going to be welcomed by people with a different thought process, or if it is going to harm our environment, and so on? I think that is where the smaller companies like us come in, wherein we are actually thinking about and listening to consumer. I read this somewhere that there was this a competitor, there was some card machine maker, some company, I don't remember the name, in US, and then Amazon copied their product and they flooded the market with it. And the owner of the smaller company, he said that he was interviewed by somebody, and he was just being questioned that how do you see your market? Do you think it's time for you to pack up and leave and this that? I said no. He was very clear about this one thing, that Amazon is not listening to the customer. I am listening to the customer. Amazon is not going to solve their problem. I'm going to solve that problem. Amazon exited that product within 1 year. It was just, I think it's knowing your niche and knowing your market, and of course having confidence in your product, and being able to listen to what market demands. These are few factors that a small business can definitely consider and be better at than any giants that there are.
Yeah, of course, because then you have other costs that are involved, and they have other costs involved, and I guess it plays more in terms of, so it's lesser price and greater volume is what their revenue model works on, and it could be a slightly higher price, but then you have a niche clientele that you hold on to, and that's where your turnover comes from.
For money, right? When we are talking about products with no fillers, it ends up giving you more value for money. You're saving on some sort of cost here and there, like the packaging is smaller and shipping is cheaper. So you save on those costs, and you can pass it on to the consumer, and consumer can derive value for their money. So it will be different for everyone, but yeah, it will be one aspect that I think a lot of future markets will depend upon.
Right.
And consumers are smarter now.
Yeah. No, so speaking about niche consumers, we have one question. So Anshi wants to know, I'll just read it out for you. The idea was thought of in 2011. So I guess she's saying that Rustic Art was founded in 2011. The consumer awareness about sustainable FMCG products was not present as vastly as it is now. And the myth of sustainable products are more expensive was more prevalent. So how did you know the risk of having a niche consumer base might pay off in the long term? Okay, so basically, I guess what she wants to know about is short-term costs and profit versus long-term. So was it the fact that from day one you were at break-even, or so how did the business expand? How did it grow? And how did you take the risk of waiting for the niche consumer base to be developed and sort of knowing that it will pay off in the long term? So how did you go about the model, basically?
So So when we started, we knew that customer is not ready for this, but we were confident that yeah, we can talk to this customer and we can create that awareness. Because if I am thinking in this way, there will be 100 other people thinking in the similar way. So we connected with like-minded people, and more people started reading about it. It started becoming more prevalent, I would say. And in last few years, especially in last 6 to 7 years, things have been much different. People are more aware about what ingredients they are using, and I would not say it is as niche as it was before than it is today. Like, think between you guys itself, how many of you read the ingredients and think of an influencer before you, uh, buy any product? Like, you would have your own, how do I put it? Like, for example, while buying shampoo, don't you see that, okay, is it free from sulfates? Isn't that like the basic thing now? That is it free of
Yeah.
sulfates? No, every market is disrupted by a small change, and I think that is when we were at. And so, how did you risk? Well, it's all about hard work and believing in yourself. I know it sounds more philosophical, but
Should we give us a
yeah,
more economical
confidence
answer? Yeah.
and believing in yourself. One second, Saili.
So first couple of years were very challenging and difficult to understand how market is working. Simple things like the pricing of the product played a very big role in this. Say for example, when we started, we priced our organic soaps at 110 rupees. No, we started with 89 rupees in 2011 and it wouldn't sell. So we took some feedback from the retailers that we were selling through. Online business was not a thing back then.
Yeah.
Then that's when we realized that itna sasta organic kaise milega. So we increased it to 110 and it still wouldn't sell so much. So then we took a bold decision and we increased it to 155 last I checked. 155 is where we started getting sales. So we understood that the customer who is buying that wants to spend a certain amount of money to, be sure of the quality of the product that they are using. That was one. Second, we also had a lot of word of mouth publicity. So once people used it, people liked their quality, people understood the difference, people started feeling the difference with their skin or health in general, and they started coming back to us. So first say 2 years, we were going very slow. We started with few products and we started increasing the product range based on the customer feedback. That is where we well, I mean, that is what we believed in. And secondly, we also did a lot of PR activity. Like, the good marketing strategy is also what helped. So we did articles in newspapers and online media, which helped cater to these markets. So yeah, I think that was how first few years were. And
Right.
then we started moving ahead. Of course, there were more demand increased slowly. We started going online on Amazon, on Flipkart. We started making our own website and selling through it. That is also when we introduced menstrual cup for the first time, and I think that was one of the most difficult products that we had to, or also a very bold product that we had to, like that we had a chance to bring into the market. So that entire experience before launching menstrual cup helped us that okay, we can talk to customers, we are confident enough that what we are making is good and it is going to help them, and
Yeah.
to create a relationship with them, like a trust building. We speak with most of the customers. For first few years, my mom was the one who would answer customer care all the time. Like, imagine founder of the company is answering customer care phone calls even in the middle of the night if it is a
Hmm.
menstrual cup related query. So these were the things that started building the trust, build brand loyalty, and that is most important aspect is what I believe in.
Right. Great. Okay. So as we move towards the end, and before you can talk to them about the internship, I had so according to you, then does it all ultimately come down to better regulation by the government, better policies being implemented and their effective implementation? And since you have also done a lot of work with water waste management, if you could tell us a little bit about the existing policies and what you think could be better, at least in that one area. I mean, of course, we have a lot of other things that need a lot more, better regulation. But at least as far as probably water waste is concerned, what are some of the existing policies that are good according to you? But what could be better? What could be better other world, policies that could be implemented, which could lead to, a more sustainable outcome, so to say.
So, if we talk about water as such, let's see how government brought out solar into the picture, right? Solar is like a no-brainer now. And how it came into the picture, it came in slowly. It was very expensive initially. Then when it started catching up and people were still reluctant, but due to some, say, benefits that they could derive, they started using it. To date, people set up a solar plant, even for buildings and housing societies for that matter, because they get property tax benefit out of it. So what we from like even from Saylee's research, I would say what we have understood that these sort of benefits like tax breaks works better than fines. And as of now, most of our policies in industrial sector are dependent on fines rather than benefits. Say, for example, if we give a company who is recycling or has a zero liquid discharge facility, a complete, say, some sort of tax benefit or some sort of subsidy like they give for solar. And if we can, popularize it and showcase the benefits out of it, and if it can be used as a marketing aspect, then of course, why would somebody not do it? So these are like small, like enforcement sort of changes that are required rather than policy changes, like how the policy is enforced or how it is put forward, rather than the complete changeover. I think that should help. Starting
Right.
point would be a great
Right.
starting point. And there was this one more thing when I don't know if you guys know this, there is a lake in Bangalore, Pelandur Lake, which used to catch fire. It used to get covered in toxic foam and it used to catch fire, and that is when I think Zavadekar was environmental minister and he visited Gokhale Institute that time, and that's when he spoke about that how detergents should be phosphorus free and
Yeah.
free sulfate free detergents, and but that never came into existence. So I think quick action on these smaller aspects on banning the wrong ingredients would make a lot of difference, would actually create some sort of control in this highly polluting environment, because these things are not controlled by anybody. Like your personal care is controlled by FDA, but home hygiene is not controlled by anybody. It is also good for manufacturing it and for ease of doing business. But I think there should be some sort of regulation around the sort of ingredients that we use in these
Right. Right. Yeah. So summing up, it would be more of incentives than punishments, or more in terms of tax breaks, or more in terms of maybe easier to get permits or easier to get permissions if you show a model that is more sustainable. And then definitely when it comes to ingredients that are harmful, probably that's where government can come down more strictly, and enforcement mechanism. But well, enforcement mechanism is something we all struggle with. So yeah, we'll keep in touch regarding the internships, and we'll figure out how to take it ahead from here.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, chalo, great.
Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining.